Audio, how and why? My name is Joe DeVita. I am from Drexel University. I'm an audio engineer and a musician by trade, and we're going to have some fun today. So, let's talk about audio and video. The first question I will ask, and I'm sure you can figure the answer out, is what is more important, having good audio quality or having good video quality? Audio. Right. Most people, if you weren't in this room with me, and I didn't preface it like that, might say good video. But I'm going to show you real quick why it's audio. Let me switch this real fast. We're going to start with this. Hold on, I need some audio.
Let's play a little bit of a game here. Imagine you're shooting a film or video, and you have a choice to make between really good video quality and really good audio quality. Which do you choose? You'd be surprised how many people actually choose really good video, and how this could probably be to their detriment. And we're going to show you two examples. First, really good audio, but really terrible video. So you can see with really terrible video how you can follow what I'm saying, how you can get into the story, despite the fact that the image has been degraded. Directors will use this creatively, like the Blair Witch Project, which is like an hour and a half of really terrible video, but the audio is so good you can follow the story. Things change drastically when we switch that around.
Suddenly, with really bad audio, it's hard to take what I'm doing seriously. It's hard to take this whole video seriously. And to get through something like this that's even 5 minutes is painful. This might work maybe with action cams if the content is really good, like a skydiver. We kind of forgive that for a second. But for an actual film content, you can't pull this off. It's terrible and it's unwatchable. And it's only unwatchable because the audio is terrible. So I'm going to switch things back for the benefit of all of us.
You can see how having good video and good audio is so super important. But if you had to choose, you shouldn't have to choose, but if you had to, maybe good audio is what you should be choosing.
So obviously, if you had to sit through a movie or a film of that audio, you'd get up and you would roll. There's no way that you would be able to sit through that. It is just painful. So, audio wins every time. With that being said, what is the best compliment you can get about your audio?
It sounds like you're there with them in the room.
Okay. Are people going to say that normally? Probably not. Suppose your friend goes to a film and they come back and you say, "How was it, man?" And they say, "Oh, it was great. The visual effects blew my mind. It was awesome. Everything was so huge and the story was good and, it just took over, took me over." And then you say, "Okay, well, what was the sound like? What was the audio?" What are they going to say?
I didn't notice.
I didn't notice. Yeah, I don't know. It was just there. That's the best compliment you can get. It should not draw attention to itself. Now, that being said, film audio is an exaggeration of reality, okay? So it's not what it is. If I had somebody go turn the light switch on and we recorded the light switch going on, it would be pretty weak. It's what you want it to be. So we'll talk more about that maybe in sound effects if we get some time. But that is the best compliment you can get. So, what is the difference between good audio and bad audio? Well, I'm going to show you. Because I remember being young and doing audio and not really knowing what it was I was looking for. I would just turn it on. Can you hear it? Yep, fine. I remember doing sound for a band once. And I set up the microphones, turned it on, and it was good. I was like, just out of high school. And the drummer comes down and he's listening to it and he goes, "Oh no, you want to do this." And he turned the bass drum. He did something to the bass drum. I didn't know what it was. Whoa! But I remember, I could hear the bass drum from the drummer. But when he did what he did, the bass drum was like kicking you in the gut. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what bands sound like when I'm there. So getting an idea of these things takes time. But here is perfect example of some of the things that you want to avoid.
I'm the owner and chef of Milfy Bakery
Sorry.
Cafe. I opened that shop a year ago, and in New York City. I just come from Paris.
What'd you guys hear? Fuzzy. Yeah, noise. Probably the refrigerator's compressor, maybe the air conditioner. It's probably the refrigerators. But there's a lot of that room noise. There's a lot of noise in there. You can still understand what he was saying, but listen to this.
So my name is Olivier Dessin, and I'm the owner and chef of Milfy Bakery Cafe. I opened that shop a year ago, and in New York City. I just come from Paris.
So, that time you still heard some of the noise, but it wasn't as intrusive. So, you're never going to be able to block out what's going on in the room completely, but you can minimize. And I'll show you some tricks, or at least tell you about some tricks about how to do that in a moment. Now, on this next one, there's going to be some wind in it too, but take notice to where they say the microphone is placed, because that has to do, that has a lot to do with it.
Panama, at Playa Teta, where I'm super stoked because I get to surf today with one of the world's top big wave surfers, legendary Ian Walsh. And Ian is going to teach me today how to catch a wave and how to do a bottom turn.
Wind.
So we're here in Panama at Playa Teta, where I'm super stoked because I get to surf today with one of the world's top big wave surfers, legendary Ian Walsh. And Ian is going to teach me today how to catch a wave and how to do a bottom turn.
Now, wind is really tough to deal with. But let's assume that we weren't dealing with the elements. What was the difference in those two? Where was the microphone placed in the first one?
On the camera.
On the camera. Where was the mic placed in the second one? Close to her, with a boom. Microphones that are mounted on the camera are just too far away from the talent. They're just too far away from what you're trying to capture. You're going to get all this other noise. So the boom gets the microphone close. When I was getting ready for this, we were thinking about what is the number one quick fix we could give you guys to get better audio, and that is get a microphone close to the sound source. If you have a boom, if you have access to a boom pole and a microphone, excellent. If you don't, use a broom handle, duct tape. Just improvise. Get that microphone close. All right, let's listen to the last one.
Today we're going to teach Lauren how to surf in the Pacific side of Panama. And the waves are fun, 2 to 3 feet, really good offshore winds, and beautiful sunny day. Just going to try to avoid the rocks on the inside a little bit. Today we're going to teach Lauren how to surf in the Pacific side of Panama. And the waves are fun. It's about 2 to 3 feet, really good offshore winds, and beautiful blue sunny day. Just going to try to avoid the rocks on the inside a little bit.
So the wind is a whole other issue. They had what they call the wind jammer and the blimp. That is like a big casing that goes around the microphone. So again, that's a whole separate issue. Wind is very difficult to deal with. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to quickly switch my video input. Okay, you should be good. There you go. So there's those two videos that we watched. Your two biggest enemies are clipping and room noise. What's clipping? Anybody know?
When the volume gets too high, it kind of like has a cutoff.
Exactly. Clipping is when the input signal is too high and the medium that you're recording on cannot capture the peaks of the waveform. Sound is waves. It's air pressure. So we have to, here's a big word, transduce, which means to change the form of energy from air to electrical signals. And we have to capture it on a medium. Well, if the volume is too loud, it pushes this signal up and it can't capture the tops. You guys are familiar with a distorted guitar tone, right? That's clipping. You're just chopping the top off. What's it sound like? Terrible. Let's have a listen. It's in here. Ah, we need this.
Hey, Cookie, how you doing?
Between my feet, my arthritis, and my asthma, I'm pretty good. And you?
I could only beat you if I had a brain tumor.
Oh, no. Stop.
Holy, God forbid. Don't even joke like...
No clipping, right? Sounded good. Okay, now watch this. Well, listen to this is what I should say.
Hey, Cookie, how you doing?
Between my feet, my arthritis, and my asthma, I'm pretty good. And you?
I could only beat you if I had a brain tumor.
Oh, stop.
Holy, God forbid. Don't even joke like...
So obviously, again, terrible. Could never sit through that. It's awful. Did I just lose this? I think I did. Come back. Come back. So now, to not clip, you need to make sure that the signal is underneath what we call the zero level. My mind is going blank for a moment right now. The highest undistorted level. You want a reference level. You want a reference level of, if you're looking at a meter, minus 12. Don't worry about that so much now. You want the signal to be loud enough that it's usable and not so loud that it clips. It's a very delicate balance between what we call the input gain. Gain is a fancy word for volume. All of the devices, for the most part, that you'll be using have an adjustment for that. You want that to be just loud enough to be usable. Well, you want it to be at a certain level, and that would be minus 12 if you are metering it. But definitely not clipping, because once you clip, it's over. You can't get rid of it. It's there. So always err on the lower side. The second thing you want to avoid is room tone, or just room noise. Room tone could be a good thing if it's controlled, and you want to add it later to make the people sound like they're in an acoustic space. But once again, once that room tone is there, you can't get rid of it. So all of this adds up to get the microphone as close to the sound source as. All right, let's move on real quick. Where are we? Here's a quick little overview of the entire process. Cool? So we have two basic major categories. The first is production sound. Production sound is getting everything together on the film shoot. All the audio you can get on the location of the shoot that you can get is production sound. Two main people in production sound. One is the sound mixer. The sound mixer is actually not mixing really anything. They are just interfacing with the director, and they are in charge of the recording gear. To basically, their main job while you're recording is to make sure you're not clipping and you're getting a usable signal, and keeping everything straight as well. And then the other person, who's just as important, is the boom operator. The boom operator is the person with the boom pole getting that microphone in position to capture what they need to capture. Good boom ops are like ninjas. They move very stealthily. They know exactly where all the dialogue is. They know all the blocking. They know where they have to move. They know where the camera's going to be. They got to look out for the lighting because they can't cast shadows. And they get like a second set of ears. They become so familiar with the way that microphone sounds. Good boom ops are indispensable. Sometimes on an indie film shoot, the boom op is the only one that gets paid. What's the main goal in production sound? Does anybody want to take a guess?
Make sure that you don't have to redo it.
Basically, you're right. Get usable dialogue. That is your main goal. Good dialogue. Sound effects and stuff you can get sometimes. You can get what we call wild sound effects, which are sound effects that aren't frame accurate, something that's not going to be matched with a picture. You can get all that stuff if you have time, but your number one goal is to get usable dialogue. Now, that doesn't always happen. for a number of reasons. Maybe there's a generator on the set to provide power and the generator's super loud and it's making a mess of the dialogue. Maybe a plane flies overhead. Maybe the cable goes bad. Anything that can happen will. So in that situation, that's when we're going to do something different in post-production. This is all afterwards. After you get all the shooting done on location, you move to post-production. If you have to fix the dialogue, we do what's known as ADR, which is automatic dialogue replacement. I've also heard it referred to as alternative dialogue recording. Let's see if I can get rid of this thing over here. No. All right, we'll deal with that later. Anyway, so ADR. If we have to replace the dialogue, we have to replace everything because we're clearing it out. We're taking all that sound that we took and throwing it away. Now, that's not to say that we wouldn't go and spice up some of the sound effects. Like I said, turn on the light switch. We recorded the light switch, but it's really weak. So in that case, we have another process called Foley. Foley is named after someone named Jack Foley, who is the first person credited to recording sound effects along with the picture in a performance manner. So they're going to watch the picture and they're going to take on the mannerisms of the characters. They're going to record all the footsteps. They're going to record cups of coffee. They're going to record doors closing. They're going to everything. Because remember, it's bigger. It's what you want it to be. Also, we have sound effects or sound design. Now, the difference between those two things is sound design is more artificial. We might create some sounds through synthesis or through recording of actual effects, layering, etc., etc., where Foley is a performance. But nowadays, with technology and the way things are going, the line is getting blurred a little bit. But Foley is pretty cool. And people that are good at Foley have a room full of toys. They just have so many things that any possible sound effect that they have to make, they can make. They also have something called Foley pits, where you have different floors, sand, this tile, linoleum, wood, all these different shoes, so that they can create the sound of the different characters walking as accurately as possible. So Foley's pretty intense. Then after that, you would have music. If you have a composer that would be composing music, they add that in there as well. Sometimes they might take other pieces of music that have already been recorded. There's a whole department that goes into that. Copyrighted music, that's music that's somebody else's, needs to be licensed and cleared. You need permission to use those things. That's where, if you're ever watching the credits on a film, you see music supervisor. Music supervisor's only job is to find other music and get the permission and pay the licensing for it. And that can get very expensive. That is a big business. And then finally, you probably can't see it because of our plaque here, mixing. Mixing is the final phase. And what we're doing there is we are balancing everything out, getting the dialogue and the sound effects to all work together. The number one thing about mixing, you're going for consistency. Nothing should jar you. Remember, the best compliment you can get is, I didn't notice it at all. So there's a lot of things. Now, if you're making your own film and you don't have a huge budget and it's just you and your friend or just you're going to be doing all this stuff. The best way to do it is to just jump in and do it. Make your mistakes. You learn best by experience. Any questions about the process? Cool. Let's move on to gear. Gear is important. Okay, the number one thing, get in production sound, get usable dialogue. The boom is the way to go. So, no boom, no problem. Get a broomstick. Get some duct tape. Get a microphone. No microphone? No problem. Use a phone. Just get something close to the sound source. This is a slate. You guys have all seen slates before. Take two. Clapperboard. Okay? Why do we do that? Well, on the slate you would write the scene and the take. That is to tell the editor later which recording of audio goes with what take in the scene, because you have to marry them later. Nowadays, some of these systems don't require that anymore. They have time code on them. But in the beginning, you're not going to be using that. If you don't have a slate, no problem. Get somebody in front, take two, clap your hands. Make sure it's visible, because you want to take the sound of that clap and the visual and marry them. Cool? So I have a boom pole here. We're going to use it. We're going to mess around. There are many different types of microphones, as you see here. I'm going to give you a quick overview. Keep moving the wrong mouse. I apologize. There's two things to really be aware of with microphones. First is the type of microphone. The type of microphone basically is how it works. There are more than these three, but these are the three you're probably going to encounter the most. Condenser, dynamic, lavalier. A lavalier mic is what I have on. Lavaliers are great because you can hide them. You can hide them in clothing. They're great for backups. They can't take the place of that boom, though. Okay? A condenser microphone is like one of these. Condenser microphones sound very, very hyped up. They're crispy, I like to say. They're very intense. They're great for subtle, soft sounds. Dynamic microphones, I don't think we have any in here. There was a picture of one on the other one, but dynamic microphones have a magnet in them. They're a little bit heavier, and they're rugged. They make great hammers. I used to say, when I was learning about them, somebody said, you could hit that thing with a Mack truck, and it would still work. They're great for loud sounds. Okay, so that's the way they work. The next thing to worry about is the polar pattern or the pickup pattern. That is the way the microphone is going to hear, where it's most sensitive to sounds. So those are the two categories. This is omnidirectional. That's this. There's a picture of it. That's like this lavalier. There you go. Lavaliers are all omnidirectional. So it's going to pick up everything equally in any direction. But also that means it's going to pick up room noise too. Bidirectional, you're probably not going to deal with. That's like a figure eight, they also call that. That would be if it was going to pick up from the back of this microphone and the front. Cardioid is shaped like a heart. It's unidirectional. That's where we get the name cardioid. It's great. A lot of people that use vocal microphones for singing, they're cardioids. Hypercardioid is a little bit more focused. They're perfect for indoors, interiors, when you're using a boom. They're kind of expensive, and they're a little bit harder to come by. Most of the time, we're going to use a shotgun microphone, which works pretty well in most boom situations. The shotgun microphone is very narrow and designed for long-range pickup. You see them a lot at sporting events with a parabolic dish on the back. Okay? So by learning those two things and knowing that about the microphones you're using, you're going to be able to make better audio recordings right away. Cool. Next, field recorders. I'm going to just move this. Cool. So, field recorders are great because they're portable. And in a lot of situations, if you have a nice one, you can get multiple tracks of audio. If you're going to mic up a bunch of actors with lavs, and then you have your boom, you can have separate information for each of them. It stays that way the whole time. Some of them have 4 tracks on board. We have this one here today, which is a Zoom H4n. That can do 2 tracks. A lot of them do 2 tracks, which is cool. This is a Nagra. You can't see it, but that's the old industry standard that they used to use everywhere. It is a 2-track recorder that uses tape. That's where the term sound speed comes from. Anybody ever heard that? Roll sound, director will say that. The sound mixer will go, sound speed, meaning I'm ready to go. That means the tape is running at speed. Now, we're not really using tape anymore. We have digital recorders, but the term still applies. Old habits die hard sometimes. So there you go. DAWs, digital audio workstation. In the older days, when we had recordings, we would have a 2-component system in studios. We would have the mixing console, which is that board with all those faders and sliders and knobs, and then we had a recorder, normally tape. Nowadays, both of these components are in one, in the box, in the computer, through a digital audio workstation. There's a number of these programs out there. Pro Tools is one, Logic Pro is another, Digital Performer, Adobe Audition. They all pretty much do the same thing. And if you have access to hardware, you can connect a hardware mixer to this so that you don't have to be pointing and clicking and everything. But they all do the same thing. They are very powerful, and they allow us to edit and mix audio. So those are our main components. Cool? Any questions about gear? All right. Let's have some fun. So, next, we're going to do a little project. Wish I could get rid of this thing over here, but I guess I can't. ENG, which stands for Electronic News Gathering. It's basically production sound. Okay? So, I need some volunteers. All right, you, 3. Cool, you 3. Come on up. One person's going to be the boom op. So you be the boom op, you're tall. So take the headphones, pop them on. That's a headphone amp. Why would we want a headphone amp for the boom op? Why would the boom op want headphones? So they can hear what the boom's picking up. Good boom ops are so well versed with this microphone, it is like a second set of ears for them. They know exactly what's going to happen when they tilt it this way. They know exactly the distance. They get real good at it. So here, take your boom. Who's going to be the sound mixer? Here, bro. Whoa. You be the mixer. So now your job's going to be to watch the levels and to run the recorder. So you can clip that on your belt or throw it in your pocket, whatever works. Here's your boom. The way you boom is your arms should be in like an H. You know? It's going to get tiring, but enjoy. You're going to read. You're going to read that. And I guess I need one more person to take some video. Anybody? Come on up. We're going to use my phone. There you go. He's on it. So here, you're just going to get him talking. You know how to use it, I'm sure. All right, so hold on. This should be wrapped. We don't want cables. Good boom poles have cables inside. All right, so bring it down here a little bit. Let's adjust this. You always want to boom for the solar plexus, okay? That's like right here. That's going to give you the best sound. Now, you can't always get the boom above them for whatever reason. Maybe the shot is part of the, pointing up. So then you would boom from below. However, that's not as optimal as from above. You get a little bit more low end. It's a little bit darker of a sound, more hoofy. But, again, we can always fix that later. All right, so you move this way a little bit. Move back over there. Now, you're going to aim for his, diaphragm here. Okay, cool. So now, for you, do you have a card? No, we need the card. Take the card. Let's pop it in. What time is this thing over? How much time we got? 11:10? Oh, boy, we got to move. All right, so you're going to read that. So why don't you start reading it now so we can check your level. So you're going to hit this? No card. We just put the card in, bro. Okay, keep talking.
The world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live to remember it. It began with the forging of the great wings. 3 were given to the elves, immortal, wisest, fairest of all beings.
You guys are on it, bro.
7 to the dwarf lords, great miners and craftsmen of the mountain halls. And 9 rings were gifted to the race of men who, above all else, desire power. For within these rings were bound the strength and will to govern each race. But they were all of them deceived. For another ring was made. In the land of Mordor, in the fires of Mount Doom, the Dark Lord Sauron forged in secret a master ring to control all others. And into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice, and his will to dominate all life.
All right, good. So now, you're looking for -12 on there. It was a little bit hot, meaning a little bit loud. So we're going to just turn the level down slightly. You're really close to his head. So move it out a little bit. Now, you don't want that in the shot. And you want to make sure that he's not going to have that in the shot.
Is it recording or?
No, not yet. That's just like arm. You know what I mean? Your recording arm. We're going to hit play to record. All right, go ahead. Talk one more time.
The world has changed.
So it's still loud.
I feel,
Keep going.
okay. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. Keep going.
I think we're ready to do one. You cool? All right, I'm going to say action. You guys are going to hit record on both of them. Don't move because you were in the perfect spot. Remember, it's in the balance. It's all about the balance. I know it gets tiring. Now, technically, you would want to be up a bit. That would help. But, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time. Okay, you guys ready? Are you already recording?
No, I'm not recording yet.
You are, though, because it's going.
Oh.
Surprise.
Surprise! All right, ready? So we're going to be... All right, so hit that record arm. Okay, you ready? And action.
The world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. It began with the forging of the great ring.
Cut. Cool. I just want to get it moving. All right, you got it? We good? All right, so let me see that. You guys are good. Let me see this. You can just put that down over there. Now we're going to listen to the difference between the phone. The phone's pretty good, but you're going to hear definitely a difference between these two things. All right, so that was mono 001. Let me... What a mess. Where'd that cable go? All right. Oh, wait, don't let me forget to give you your card back.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that was...
Yeah. Let me grab what's on the card now.
Yeah.
It's just like formatted your card. Mono. I think that was the one. Yeah.
January 1st.
Yeah, it's all good. Let me grab this. Hopefully we don't run out of time, which I know we're going to, which is a drag. Come on. Okay, great. I got nothing. Well, yeah, I know. I don't know what the deal is. It's not cooperating right now. Anyway. Anybody got a lightning to USB cable? I might run to my car and grab one for the next one. Yeah, sweet. I think it's the cable. My apologies. Thanks, brother. Oh, by the way, here's your card. Just don't want you to forget it. Two minutes. You know what I can do? Here, man, take your cable. I can airdrop. Didn't even think of that. I think I can airdrop. leaves. It's not showing up. I don't know why. Whoa, what was that? That's freaky. All right, so basically we're running out of time. All I'm going to do now is play you the difference between the two, okay? So, it's already open. Hello. Here's the phone audio.
I feel it in the water, I feel it in the earth, I smell it in the air, much that once was and lost, for none.
Okay? Here's the audio from the boom.
The world has changed. I feel it in the water, I feel it in the earth.
Night and day.
I smell it in the air. Much
Right?
that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. It began with the forging of the great rings.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys got a little something out of that. Let me know if you have questions. You're welcome. Best of luck.